Virgo Shaka. Similar to Gemini Saga, he is one of the most popular and powerful goat saints in the series. Being one of the 12 guardians of Athena, he protects the sanctuary in the house of Virgo. Even as a child, the Virgo saints must undergo 1,000 days of meditation. This training is to prove they are worthy of speaking to the gods and Buddha. This gives Shaka great knowledge of spirituality as well as being a great showing of stamina. When Shaka first appeared in the manga, it was to confront an evil on Death Queen Island who recently donned the Phoenix Claw, Ikki. Ikki attacked with no effect on Shaka. Shaka knocked him out but took pity on him and sealed his memory. They would meet again in the war against the sanctuary, but not before 3 bronze saints attempted to battle Virgo Shaka. He easily repelled their attacks. 2 of them had knowledge and experience in tapping into the 7th sense. Then he faced Ikki, where he displayed a variety of abilities such as illusions. One was so real, Ikki attempted to travel light years away to avoid Shaka's attacks, but in reality he barely moved. Shaka also displayed the ability to send souls to another realm called 6 incarnations. He has a technique called Tenbu Horn. This sends his enemy into a zen state unable to move. He will often follow this technique up by removing the 6 senses. However, in battle against Ikki, he was going to send him to the 6 paths of incarnation to stop his soul from returning to his body, meaning Shaka can remove senses even on a spiritual level. However, this all led to Ikki suiciding him into another dimension. While Ikki's senses were removed, his awakening of the 7th sense and mastery of the central nervous system allowed him to move. While Shaka could have left him into another dimension, showing Shaka's ability to travel on his own, he needed assistance in bringing Ikki back. Now on to the Hades arc. Shaka faced off against 3 gold saints. He tried to simply halt their advances initially and succeeded for a fair amount of time with nearly real illusions and the same distance illusion he used against Ikki. But eventually, Shaka knew he had to truly face them after taking a powerful cosmos blast from Saga that he nullified with his barrier. Shaka, however, countered with Tenmu Kufuku, destroying the Temple of Cancer, which led Shion to believe that the saints Saga, Camus, Shuru were dead. Even Ares Mu was surprised by the true power of this technique. Later, Shaka was attacked by Hades specters, but blocked their attacks and killed them by summoning evil spirits. But he had his barrier destroyed by 3 random specters hiding their power. In the anime, it clearly shows them hiding their technique, which includes Galaxy and Explosion, but I cannot confirm here. Either way, Shaka realizes who they are and destroys their mask and armor, revealing their replica Spectre armor. Shaka, with his eyes open and at full power, takes them to his garden for his final battle. He dodges an attack from Shura, who was fast enough to cut the hair of Ares Mu, but Camus froze his leg and Saga used another dimension where he manages to escape. He then decides to use Tenbu Horn, and a reminder, another dimension is not an easy technique to escape. In the spin-off Saint Seiya show, Athena was worried about being trapped in another dimension, and Gemini Cain, a Gemini stronger than Gemini Saga, when he was sucked into his own dimension technique due to a time-space distortion, he feared being trapped in the dimension himself. The sensor removal badly hurts and damages the surplus of the 3 gold saints. Shaka recommends using Athena extermination to defeat him. Camus and Saga realize that they cannot win and don't want to die twice, so Camus decides they will accept the title of being both cowards and traitors. Athena extermination contains the power of the Big Bang on a focus point. This killed Shaka. He was able, however, to revive in Hades with the 8th sense. The 8th sense allowed him to keep his will in the underworld. Going all the way to the Wailing Wall of Hades, Seiya was going to attempt to use all of his cosmos to destroy it, but Shaka stopped him easily, which is a great showing of power and speed. It later shows he and the other saints can greatly raise their cosmos at any time when they attempted to destroy it using the Gold Saint's weapons. Unfortunately, those weapons deflected right back toward them, which is a great showing of durability. Then all the Gold Saints gathered at once. They put all their power together and destroyed the Wailing Wall of Hades. This would be the end of the Gold Saints, outside of spin-offs, all except for Shaka. When the Bronze Saints Andromeda, Shun, and Tima were trapped in the Virgo temple against a Virgo's illusionary guardian, they were going to meet their doom, but they were saved by Virgo Shaka, who manifested from Shun's claw. Now there is a little bit of a debate of how Shaka got there. Now it seems to suggest that it's a figment that appeared from the cloth of Shun, but you can also read it as perhaps Shaka from another world sent this manifestation down, due to it saying Shaka traveled through time to help Shun. But either way, it doesn't change the set of feats. I just thought I should bring that up. The two Gold Saints then unleashed Tenbu Horin on each other, which put them at risk at fighting for an eternity. However, it was then the Virgo Saint Shajima unleashed his true ultimate technique, Yanaiguo, the sound of the end of the universe that covers the entire temple in another dimension. Shaka calls this technique a miracle, and that any other enemy would have been defeated. But luckily, Shaka had a miracle of his own. He opened his eyes and unleashed Anguo, the light of the birth of the universe. This stream of power from the beginning and the end created an infinite amount of universes being created and destroyed. In the end, the battle was stopped, and Shaka's ancestor agreed to free the Bronze Saints. Shaka states the reason for helping was to save the inherited owner of his cloth. Shaka finally returned to Nirvana. However, the true Shajima proclaims Shaka to be a frightening man whose power may be the strongest Virgo Saint since the age of mythology. Truly a man closest to the gods. And at that moment, that is the end of Virgo Shaka in the canon story. Now before going into feats in the spin-offs, I will go into more detail and break some things down, feats and evaluating statements without going heavily into theory. First, I want to bring up the time he faced the Leo Gold Saint Alio. He used Om to expand his Cosmo and used his physical attack Tenmu Kufuku against Leo's strongest technique of his two lightning bolt. This battle was headed into a 1,000-day war before being interrupted. Now of course Shaka had his eyes closed, which in the manga and official website says when his eyes are open, his power is increased. How much more powerful he is with his eyes open I will go into later, but it is seemingly needed to unleash Tenbu Horin. Now how strong is Leo? According to the author's word, he and Shaka were the strongest saints at the time. Of course Ailos, Saga, and Doko were not active saints at the time. It is still a solid confirmation of Shaka and Leo's power compared to the others. Now there's a small debate surrounding the title man closest to God. Like, what does it even mean really? In some translation, Doko in the Hades saga states Shaka got the title from being the first to awaken his 8th sense, meaning he unlocked it likely as a child. One could just leave it there, but I believe it's deeper than that. We also see the title being used as someone who has close connection to divinity on a spiritual level. But that's not it by itself, because we see time and time again this title being used as a way to tell others to be wary or to be complimentary of the power of saints like Shaka or any Virgo saint. Cheyenne even states that Shaka is a saint whose power is closest to God among the Gold Saints in all translations I could find. So what does it mean? I think it's quite clear. It means all of the above. The title is a compliment to Virgos that display all traits of Buddhahood. In terms of spirituality and power, Shaka displays these qualities exquisitely even after death. Many fans speculate that Shaka is much more powerful in Next Dimension, and I think it makes sense for these reasons. Shaka's residual thought was able to unleash Tenbu Horin without opening his eyes, and he also countered an incredibly powerful technique with his own powerful technique never seen before. Generally, Gold Saints of an older generation are stronger by statements, and even Ikki summarized that Shijima may have been more powerful than even Shaka. How can that be when Shaka was stated to be the strongest saint since mythology? It is because, like the Buddha under the tree, Shaka reached true enlightenment and nirvana in death. Now again, that's all speculation, but I believe it makes enough sense to mention. And now some notable feats in Saint Seiya episode G, where you see a younger Virgo Shaka. Shaka, after using almost all of his cosmos to hinder the power of the incoming enemy, the Titan gods, he still managed to save the Leo Gold Saint and easily destroy the Titan when he opened his eyes and unleashed Tenma Kufuku. We also see Shaka save Leo once more very impressively against the Titan Dimension Iapetus. Iapetus had seals removed, unleashing more of his great power, enough power to create his own universe. Iapetus tries but fails to destroy Shaka's barrier. Eventually, Iapetus absorbed the power of his wife's giants, which is comparable to the universal power the Titans wield. The Titan transforms and destroys Shaka's barrier, even striking Shaka again, which he manages to survive. Leo, who at the time had the power of Dunamis, was able to weaken the Titan enough to force him into absorbing his wife, making the already powerful Titan god even more powerful. When it looked like the Titan had the upper hand, Tenma Kufuku, Shaka was able to defend himself with his barrier for a time, but eventually opened his eyes and unleashed Tenbu Horin, which was powerful enough to even hurt and immobilized the Titan for a time, but the Titan recovered due to the power of Dunamis. Still, very impressive feat. Eventually, Leo was able to defeat the Titan. We see Shaka again helping Leo by giving him all of his Cosmo, and then facing a very powerful giant. Now, giants in this story are somewhat comparable to weaker Gold Saints, but these were the Titans of Kronos who had Dunamis. Shaka took a hit from this enemy, but then Shaka opened his eyes, releasing his stored cosmos. Shaka stopped and countered the giant's Dunamis powered attack and finishes him off with Tenma Kufuku, as you might have guessed, showing just how powerful he is with his eyes open. And his final feat in the series, blocking an attack from a very powerful Ebony Hyperion. And that's it for Saint Seiya episode G. There's Saint Seiya episode G Assassin, but sadly he has not done anything in that series in terms of combat. In fact, he has more of an advisory role, but we know for a fact he is very powerful. More powerful than he was in the Sanctuary arc and maybe even Next Dimension, because like all Chaos World Gold Saints, they are much more powerful than the saints we know in the classic, so at least on par with the legendary Gold Saints. One hint to his power was when Shura defeated a gladiator, his body was teleported away. Shura wonders who has such a power and realizes Shaka has joined the Lost World. He also has a feat in Saint Seiya's show. Shaka was able to block the attack of Gemini Saga, who launched meteorites from space made of the divine star of a god. And that's everything, at least when it comes to feats in the story. Now going into more off primary canon and statements, and also going over some abilities. Reference books state that Shaka has the greatest Cosmo of Gold Saints. Saint Seiya episode G states that Shaka is one of the strongest saints and that his Tenma technique is comparable to Galaxian Explosion. His official profile states his abilities are immeasurable. His abilities mostly the same as any other Gold Saint. Atomic destruction, flight, levitation, technique adaptation, the same technique doesn't work twice on the Saint. Miracle creations, Saint can break their limits and achieve a vast boost in power comparable to that of even the gods. Massively FTL speeds, potentially immeasurable, comparable to that of the Bronze Saints who traveled Hades dimension, comparable to Shuru whose speed transcended the speed of the Big Bang. Some unique abilities, particularly strong in telekinesis, mental manipulation, and defense, seems adept at traveling and escaping dimensions. He has the 8th sense. This allows him to have free will in the underworld and can seemingly come back from death. Stat boost, fire manipulation, transmutation. He can transform lava into lotus flowers. Resistance to mind control, nearly real if not real illusion creation, barrier creation, 6th sense removal, soul manipulation, and can send souls into the rosary beads. Breaking it all down into basic stats: speed, massively FTL to potentially immeasurable. Range, with Iki thinking he needed to travel light years to avoid his attack, it's a great showing of range, so galaxy, cross-dimensional, universal. Intelligence, stated to be one of the most wise Gold Saints. Great combat experience, trained all of his life and battled powerful enemies with a variety of techniques. Great knowledge of divinity, spirituality. Lore says he inherited knowledge of the previous holy war. Attack potency, at base, using basic attacks, Shaka should be high multigalactic to low universal in offense and universal in defense. Universal all around with his eyes open. Shaka, going by next dimension, should easily be universal plus with his eyes open. Taking in stuff like Saint Seiya Golden Age that states any Gold Saint has universal power, as well as Episode G, Saint Seiya Show, and the Chaos World Shaka incarnation into account, he sits easily between low multiversal to multiversal. And that's it for the power of Shaka, the man closest to God. At least till he appears again in Saint Seiya Episode G Requiem and Show. For now, hope you enjoyed this and found it very informative. I tried to make it as factual as possible, yet open-minded as possible as well. So would love to see what you think. And remember to please like and subscribe. Later.